Hello everyone, welcome back to the latest update series of Drishti IAS. This is Divya Kabatra and today we are going to discuss regarding a very interesting topic, that is Ice Silk Road. Silk Road makes a ring regarding China, right? But then ice, where did that come from? So we'll talk about this, what this is, how it is being framed, and where does India stand on that. Alright? Stay tuned till the end to know more about it, and first of all, let's understand why it is in news. So China has recently announced a new shipping route through the Arctic Ocean that could ease the way for global trade amid the Middle East crisis, right? Because of the Middle East crisis, everybody is finding alternate routes. So China has also come up with alternate route, and amidst that, they're saying that since this has paralyzed the critical waterways including Bab el-Mandab Strait on the edge of Red Sea, Strait of Hormuz, etc. Everything has been paralyzed, right? So trade was largely affected. So they said that we have found an alternate trade route and that can be allowed to actually solve this problem. How so? Let's understand. So shipping companies have become increasingly interested in this alternative trade route already. Why? Because the recent years of conflict have obviously given them a strong hit. Now let's understand what is the Ice Silk Route. Alright, so the route is that it originates in Ningbo, China. The path goes north through the Bering Strait and follows Russia's Northern Sea route through the Arctic Circle, transverses to the North Sea and ends at Felixstowe, England. That is how they're creating an entire circle where entirely the trade might go on without any choke point. Right, so operator here formally this is launched by Chinese container like Sea Legend following the trial run that was completed in October. The transit time is it takes 18 to 21 days compared to 40 days via Suez Canal and 50 days via Cape of Good Hope. So we have alternate options like Cape of Good Hope and here straits, but they are taking much more time. Right, like we've seen, the Suez Canal is also taking 40 days and Cape of Good Hope is also taking 50 days. But this is going to take 18 to 21 days, far less than this, right? That can facilitate better trade, less transportation cost and quick delivery service. Right, so cargo specialization as their cold Arctic temperatures and drastically shorter transit will obviously make it ideal for heat sensitive or time critical freight such as lithium ion batteries, photovoltaic components. These cannot even be transported over such a large scale. They need to reach very quickly. They are time bound structures, and if we want to import or export them, we definitely need a time bound sea route as well, right? That takes lesser time and not 40 to 50 days. Right? So that's why this is coming in handy and is something that is getting attention of everybody. This is the actual route, the Northern Sea route, the existing route that we already have, and this will be the Northern Sea route, right? That goes across China and from there ends in England, right? This will be the route, and we have already existing Suez Canal route that takes much longer time as we have seen right now. Clear? Yes, there is the Bering Strait, going through the Bering Strait and then ultimately landing in England. Can you see the map here? Can you see the difference here? Yes, exactly. So the question is like, why look at the Arctic now? Like, why do we begin now? Why it is important and why we are talking about it more now? There are two converging factors. The route is gaining attention due to two converging factors. What are the two factors? Number one, Middle East choke point paralysis, Bab el-Mandab Strait and the Strait of Hormuz choke point getting traditional southern routes, making it impassable. Then the second thing is climate change. The melting ice has caused Arctic sea ice extent during peak winter to drop by 5.8%. And this is keeping Arctic open for shipping even during warmer summer months, right? Because of that melting, the water transportation has continued, and because of that, it is now connected, right? And that's why we can use it to actually make this transportation successful. Clear? Exactly. That's why this is again in talks because of climate change as well, because melting of the glaciers is giving us a route of transportation. But it is not without limitations or challenges. It is not like it doesn't have any challenge or not limitation, because somebody would have done that long ago, right? But there are limitations, like it is a seasonal access only, it is only passable during the northern hemisphere summer months. During the winter, the ice blocks transit make it a seasonal supplement, right? It is not a year-round replacement, but at least for some time this can be done. Then the Russian reliance is there because the route relies on Russia's Northern Sea Route Administration that is operated under Rosatom for permits and icebreaker support. Because if there is ice, you need an icebreaker, and somebody trained in that will follow the path for you so that they can clear out the ice as the transit goes forward. That will come from Russia, right? So there's a huge dependence on Russia for this, and the Western ships, they face political risk due to sanctions and heavy involvement with Russia. So Western ships cannot benefit from this, so they might go against this, right? They wouldn't want to facilitate this, or they wouldn't want other countries to actually create dependence on this, because that would reduce dependence on Western countries, and Western countries will not be able to take benefit from this. Both of them not in their favor, so naturally they might not agree to this, and they might create problems regarding this, right? So that is a challenge. And then the involvement of Russian shadow fleets and everything, that is obviously there. Environmental and strategic resistance, if we talk about environmental groups criticize increased Arctic shipping, they're saying that already the glacier is melting, already everything is melting, because of that you have a transportation route, fine. But the moment you start using that transportation route, it will create more heat, more melting of the glacier, rising of the water level. That is going to be dangerous for everybody. So environmental concerns are saying that obviously this is not something that can be used excessively. We can in a very limited manner, that also should be avoided, but then again, what other option do we have? But even if you're doing it, it should not be excessive, because that excessive burden would create excessive heat, and that excessive heat will in turn again melt them, and that would lead to rising water level, and that is obviously a bad sign, right? So they are saying that additionally NATO's Arctic Sentry mission monitors growing China's Russian operational influence also. So in terms of security or strategic intervention also, this is not advised, okay? Not just for environment, but in terms of strategic intervention also, they're saying that China and Russia's dominance is way ahead there, and that can create problems in the future. Clear? Yes? Alright. Moving on to the geopolitical outlook. China's near Arctic state ambition. China has declared itself as a near Arctic state. What does it mean? Like, is it like a landmark for China? Like if anybody cannot find China, they can look at near Arctic, right? Like you enter an address and there's a landmark, and you say that near this bank, near this restaurant, near this choke, something you write, right? That's a landmark. So China is identifying itself as a near Arctic country. Like what? People were not able to find China on map. So we need a landmark reference or something. Why? Right? So that is the kind of dominance that everybody is scared of, that glaciers might melt, Arctic might become a common land, and that common land might get occupied by China or Russia, or both of them fighting over it, leaving the rest of the world out of it. Right? That is raising strict concerns as well. And then UN clause is also coming to this, because scientific research, navigation, research, exploration, everything is under international waters, because Arctic waters is international waters, Arctic glaciers are international glaciers, Arctic land is international land, it is not any country's land, right? So in 2018 Arctic Policy White Paper, they have asserted rights under UN clause, and China is saying that we have the dominance to do this, right? Then comes the Russia-China axis. Why? Because Western's actions on Russia have accelerated Moscow's reliance on Chinese capital. That's why they are developing Arctic energy products like Yamal LNG and icebreaker infrastructure, all that with the help of China. So China and Russia either coming together or fighting for that land. In any case, it is not going to be good for anybody, especially the West. And if it is not going to be good for the West, why would they allow something like that to happen? Won't they try to stop it? And if they do, this might not become a reality, right? And this alternative sea route might not get created. Then NATO and US response. 7 of the 8 Arctic Council members, that is US, Canada, Denmark, Finland, Iceland, Norway and Sweden, they are all NATO members. NATO's enhanced presence in the high north aims to deter Russian militarization, Chinese polar infrastructure investment. That can be done. So NATO can be a balancing act. only if it is balancing and not cooperative, right? Exactly. Then there's a legal friction. Why? Because UN clause article 234 says that Russia relies on this of UN clause to exert regulatory control, fee collection and mandatory escort requirement over the NSR. Right? But Western nations view parts of the route as international strait on the right of transit passage. So they're saying that if it is a part of international strait, then obviously you cannot charge anything from here. But Russia thinks that under the UN clause, we can do that and we will be doing that, and that is going to create a friction, and maybe we are looking at a war. Right? You might think that this is extreme, but no. These things are done to actually instigate such feelings so that frustration occurs and then ultimately there's a war. Some or the other country comes up with that. Already there are so many chaos running across the world, like Russia, Ukraine, Israel, Palestine, Iran, Israel, US, West Asia crisis, the whole thing. Lebanon is also getting involved, Houthi is getting involved, a lot of involvement is there, and that is definitely not working out for other countries. Right? They come and talk about pollution, they come and talk about peace, and they themselves don't even consider that. Do you think these wars are actually preserving environment? Yeah. Right. Yeah. Hypocrisy at its peak, and at the same time there's a legal friction. So naturally this becomes a problem. What is India's perspective on this? Let's understand that. India's Arctic policy, first of all, in 2022 is built on 6 pillars. That is, we need it for scientific research. So we are going to use it for that, number 1. Then it is for environmental protection also, economic and human development, transportation connectivity is still a part of Indian guideline, and governance and international cooperation and capacity building. India has been a permanent observer on Arctic Council since 2013, and as a permanent observer, we do have a stand there and we do have a voice there. We can use that to raise our opinion and make sure that this is not benefiting one or the other country. Research infrastructure is there. India operates Himadri Research Station, right? Yeah, and that in Svalbard, Norway, and in Arc Underwater Observatory also already working there. Energy strategic interest, if we talk about that, India imports Russian oil and LNG via northern routes. India's primary connectivity focus remains on INSTC, and we want Chennai Vladivostok Eastern Maritime Corridor also, rather than relying on China dominated Arctic routes. So in this case, yes, Arctic presence is there, yes, India has a say in that, but India obviously would never want a China dominated route, because then China can any day put a close to that. Right? It will shut it down any day and will disrupt the entire world, especially for India. So obviously India cannot be a part of something, India cannot support something where China dominates on such a large scale, because on one hand, Western Asia crisis, there also India doesn't have a leg to stand on where we can open up the straits or we can mediate. We don't have that power yet. And then another alternate route that develops, that is also going to be China dominated, where again India doesn't have a leg to stand on. Right? So that way both the routes will be against India, they will not be controlled by India, India will not have a dominance there, voice there, or any kind of influence there. Right? That raises serious concerns, even though Russia has a large scale involvement, but you do know that Russia acts as a buffer between India and China, not a supporter of India. When it comes to China, Russia never stands with India or against China. Russia always acts as a buffer state and tries to make relations better, because Russia and China are good friends. Right? So in this case, we cannot even depend completely on Russia, because that is also not going to happen. So for India, it is very crucial that we understand where we stand on this, and then we decide how to support this or go against this and how to make it better. Either India can be a strong part of it, so that not only China but India also has equal dominance, or India can object this. But in any case, India's rights are for sure at risk, and future is also at risk. Right? Exactly. So monsoon linkage is also there. Indian scientific research in Arctic specifically study how polar ice melts impacts global ocean currents, variability of the Indian summer monsoon, also El Nino and all that, and that is creating strict impact anyway. Alright, that was our topic regarding the Silk Road. I hope that is clear. The Ice Silk Road, not just the Silk Road, that is being created because it is in the Arctic. So connecting the Arctic and creating a new sea route, that's why it is Arctic, and that's why it is ice. right? It is Silk Road because China, then ice because of Arctic. I hope that's clear. Yes. India's stand is clear. India's concerns are clear. Limitations and challenges are clear. Yes. Perfect. So we have an announcement for you. The class has already begun, but you can go and watch that. This is our UPSC word mapping continent series that runs every Wednesday and Saturday at 7 p.m. The first session has already been released. You can go and watch that on the Drishti IAS English channel and continue to watch it every Wednesday and Saturday at 7 p.m. The continental series that is definitely going to help you in your mains preparation, prelims preparation, especially for word geography. Yes? Alright, moving on to our question then. As is our trend, we will move on to the question regarding the Northern Sea route and the Arctic trade corridors that are being recently proposed. Done? Alright, we'll wait for your answers in the comment section, and if you want to join us for more such discussions on current affairs every day, we meet at 8:30 a.m. Monday to Saturday live on the Drishti IAS English channel, where you can join us for discussions of the Hindu newspaper, PIB news analysis, as well as questions for practice from the previous session. That is the structure of the class. Do join in to know more about it. And that was our video for today. We'll see you in the next session. Till then, take care. Thank you. Bye-bye.
For more informative content, like, share and subscribe, and do not forget to press the bell icon to get the notifications.